Okay, today we've got a legacy vision for you, an analysis and a channeling session that turned out to be pretty fruitful. What do I mean by a legacy vision? I mean, this is a vision from the old record set, of which none of you have seen any of the images from that yet, except for perhaps like in the introductory video or something. Once I started doing this channel, I started what I call the new record set, which are just new visions I have right now. But I've got like 100 or so visions from, over the last 10 years or so that I've got vision records of and analysis and things like that. And I think they're really important. And some of them are really fascinating. It's just that for a lot of these, I didn't bother to channel on them. So what I've decided to try to do here is learn what I can about these images by channeling them and adding a new dimension to what's going on. And this one turned out to be a really interesting channeling session related to this vision. Now, what's our title today? Massive Epic Gothic Cathedral with Angel on the Astral Plane. And perhaps as a subtitle, I should add, did we find an entrance to the underworld on the astral plane? So let's go on to the next slide. And the reason why I say that out loud is that when I edit, it's easy for me to figure out where to put in the right slides. So I'm not really talking to anybody but myself when I do that. So first I'll let you just have a look at the actual image that I saw. And, it's a decent artistic representation of what I saw. Like, it didn't exactly look like this. They never do. But I drew that image, and I'll tell you if I ever use AI on this channel, because I like my art. It's a source of pride, even if it's not very good. So I'll tell you when it's my art. I'm not going to fake it with like AI or something. And what I saw was this just this massive, epic, like literally a Gothic cathedral, and the primary colors were, as you see there, like there were neon green crosses and stained glass windows that were bright and like beautiful, and epic spires and Gothic architecture. And this thing was huge, and it was one of the early examples of an epic, like, mega structure. Like I see mega beings, like giants. I call giants, or I call them mega beings, or whatever, like just huge titanic like beings that can stretch out across galaxies. Well, this isn't nearly so big, at least not the part of it that we can see. But it's still like just massive. It would easily be the biggest cathedral on the entire Earth by far, like 100 or 1,000 times bigger than the biggest one, I would guess. And it was a really cool vision. Like, it was really colorful. It was really great. Like, and it had all these Christian symbols, and I thought that was pretty interesting. But before we analyze this vision, I got a new feature for you on this channel. I figured out how to feed my art into like AI so that it creates a short little video. So I'll show you a couple of those videos here. Let you watch those, and then we'll get back to the discussion of the actual vision. So here we go. So now, got a good look at the temple. Hopefully you liked that AI. I thought it worked out pretty cool. I could steal my art, and yet it just looks cooler when you can go through it like in a 3D perspective. I think that'll probably be a pretty common part of this channel now. Well, first I'll tell you my initial thoughts, and then I got some deeper understandings after I did a channeling session. But my initial thoughts on this particular vision, there's temples on the astral plane, and that's an important thing to understand. There's a lot of temples. I see so many temples. This was the first like literal Christian temple I've ever seen, because it had those crosses. And so that was pretty interesting. And I really haven't seen any others that I can remember that were like literally Christian, but I've seen tons of alien temples and temples of all sorts, temples to almost anything you can think of, and I kind of understand why that is now. Like, a lot of knowledge came to me with the channel I did related to this vision. It really helps me to tie things together. Why was I all seeing like churches and temples and religious rites and artifacts and structures, and why was it always focused on that? I mean, I know I'm interested in that stuff, but why would the astral plane be showing me that? Like, when I let the astral plane show me what it wants to show me. But anyway, so there's temples on the astral plane, lots of them. This suggests, from an anthropological perspective or from a common sense perspective, that there's religious presence on the astral planes. So that means a couple of things. It means that the beings and civilizations and social groups of whatever kind of entities do have religions within the deep mind, spiritual and astral and imaginary planes. Like, they literally have religions, religious structures, physical structures. I've also definitely found evidence of rituals and books and teachings, and like, I literally can channel some of their religious teachings sometimes, like I did today. So that's an important thing to know. It also means that, particularly in this case, that religions that exist on the earth in the material plane, like Christianity, have an actual presence on the astral plane, like a physical presence, at least an astral physical presence. I guess that's the best way to put it. It isn't really physical, but an astral presence. So there's like Christian cathedrals, at least this one giant cathedral. I haven't seen any others, but certainly wouldn't be surprised they're there. And that suggests that every other religion on the earth probably has some sort of corresponding temple or structure related to it. I wonder if, like, my own spiritual beliefs have an astral representation up there somewhere. I mean, how would I know if I saw it? Interesting questions. This is another example of massive structures on the astral plane, and that's just one of my big findings so far. Is just there's giant titanic beings and there's giant titanic structures. That isn't the only thing that's there. There's lots of regular sized stuff and small stuff, but there's just these massive things that are well beyond the size of anything that exists on the earth, or that we can see from the earth, honestly. Or for the most part, I don't know if something like there's things out there we can see that are bigger, like superclusters. I don't know how big a nebula is, but it's probably pretty big. I'm not an astronomer, but another question this brings up is, are there literal homes for like epic and powerful beings on the astral plane? In this case, yeah, like what I found at the center of this temple after I went in through the center and came up to this doorway and went into this big room, was there's actually an angel in it. Now, it was the first time I'd ever seen an angel in a vision, and that's pretty notable in and of itself. Like, I don't think I've seen many other angels, maybe one or two, and things that are like related to angels, but out of 1,000 visions or more, probably a lot more, because I can't write down 10 for every one that I do. Seeing only 2 angels is not a lot. So yeah, I learned some of the answers to these questions, at least in a general sense, with my channel. So let me move on to the next image. Now this image you see here, massive angelic being at the Universal Gothic Cathedral. So that's what I called the original cathedral, Universal Gothic Cathedral. That's what I should have titled this the intro slide. Maybe I'll change the title for the actual video though. And these visions were had in October of 2021, so it wasn't that long ago. But as you can see, there's some history to these visions. And what's really weird and interesting about this particular angel, I wouldn't even have known it was an angel if it kind of wasn't implied strongly to me when I entered the room with the angel, like a big kind of a ceremonial room where the angel was just sitting there on kind of a golden throne, which you can kind of see that there. Now, what I found really odd about this angel was, like, it was primarily composed out of like threads of light. Like, I tried to replicate that as best I could in my own drawing, and it kind of gives you the general sense. They're like these curving thin lines of different colored light, and they all were geometric, and they matched each other on each side to form kind of what looks like the body of the angel. If you look really close, you can kind of like vision what the angel may have looked like. There's like 2 or 3 ways that it could have looked based on this picture. Like, it could be like sitting and looking down at the floor, or it could be its head there in the center with the pink and the green, or with the little blue triangles. It's hard to say, but so the primary, this angel was like made out of intersections of light, like threads of light, and then it had these wings that were like luminescent, and that's kind of a symbol for why it was an angel. And interestingly, it appears to have like at least 2 horns on its head, and I didn't really understand that, but again, I got some interesting answers in my channel today. So I did a video of this one. This is also my original drawing, and I fed it into the AI to get a video, so we'll check that out now. Alright, so now you've seen the video version of the angel. Now, some interesting questions come up here. So I did a quick channel, a fairly quick channel, but it actually came it was a pretty potent channel. I've been having trouble getting good channels lately, so I was really happy that I got this one, and it came at a good time, because I may not have had a video without this channel. Like, I didn't have enough information on this particular vision, but I wrote down most of the channel here. There's a little bit at the end that I didn't write down, and hopefully I'll remember that when I get to the bottom of this, but here I'll read to you what it says. What you saw on the astral plane, the great Gothic temple of the Archangel Acheron, was but an impressive symbol of something much, much greater. And notice there, the Archangel is called Acheron, and Acheron is like the river that feeds the 2 rivers in the Greek underworld. Hades is one of them, maybe, or not Hades, but the Styx is one of them, and I can't remember the name of the other one. But that's like, Acheron is the river that goes into the underworld, and they're calling this an archangel. So Archangel Acheron. Now that's pretty weird. You don't usually think of archangels like guarding the entrance or ruling over the entrance to like the underworld / Hades / hell. Let me just yeah, the underworld. So I just don't want to make any mistakes here, but yeah, that's what it is. It's a river in Hades in Greek mythology. So there we go. The size of temples and beings on the astral plane is often a reliable reflection of the power and influence of a particular temple, being, spirituality, or religion. So a giant cathedral suggests a powerful religion with a lot of influence on the astral plane. Temples on the astral plane can be expanded to absolutely epic, massive, unbelievable, and unperceivable scale. Temples on the astral plane can be sacralized on the material plane by constructing the temple in the material world in whatever form the viewer is capable of reproducing. The temples may be populated with tasteful works of religious art and creation. And that suggests to me of, my own or whoever is doing it. Now that's interesting. Like in here in the channel, it's telling me that I could, and heavily implying that I should, like, make a material representation of temples I see on the astral plane, that if I want to further manifest the power of that temple and the religion behind it. And of course I don't have any kind of funds to build a physical temple like this, but there are definitely options, and that's kind of what came at the end of the channel, was these ideas that I could create like artistic massive temples, like that's kind of what I did here, but at a very small scale. But it kind of suggested to me that I could draw 50, 100 pictures and combine them into like just a massive temple, and that perhaps I should. And I'm thinking about those kinds of ideas. I don't think I'm a fast enough drawer to do that, but it's an really interesting idea. There's a lot of potential there. You could even use things like software to enter in commands to build sections of the temple, kind of like how they build video games through software engines. But I could do something similar to build temples and populate them. There exist on the astral planes a handful of religions across the universe whose temple, and I believe that should say temples, are of a size far greater than any human can comprehend. These are the great hidden religions of the stars, or what you might call the great hidden religions of the astral planes. All of that you have seen, and it should have been probably all that you have seen, of this Gothic cathedral is but a grain of sand in comparison to the unseen structure. At this time you were permitted but a glimpse of the massive gate to the underworld. So there we go. The channel directly says this is like a gate to the underworld. You know what's really interesting about this temple that I just figured out tonight is I had always assumed this was a temple in which this angel lived. And it does clearly live there, but is it living there or is it imprisoned there? If this is Archangel Acheron, is that temple there to house, to give it glory and house it, or is that temple there to protect the universe from the archangel that's inside it? Like all those Christian symbols are meant to keep the Archangel Acheron from getting out, rather than as a home for, or a temple or a cathedral. And if you take the channel at face value, that's probably the case. Now, there's one more line there. Focus more on discovering what remains unseen, and you shall have a story great and a realm vast. And there's already a lot more that wants to be channeled here, so I almost certainly am going to make a longer, maybe 4 to 8 page channel, maybe longer. This one could go a while. I can tell there's a lot of information trying to get through me there, through to me and through me. And again, then after this, I kind of got these. This is the part that needs to be written out that I didn't necessarily write down, but it was these ideas that, fascinating ideas that really helped me with my focus, honestly. You really can gain good information from channeling at times. And it's this idea that one of the points of this particular channel that I didn't really understand when I was making it, like I know that something's pushing me to do this, and trying to figure out the final form of what I'm going to be focusing on, and I've kind of got, it's narrowing down, but this particular channel suggested that what I really ought to be doing, and perhaps what I've been trying to do all along subconsciously, is create this structure for my, a channel, aka structure, so that I can learn like the religions and religious secrets of the beings on the astral planes and the civilizations on the astral planes and the sections on the astral planes, and then take those and bring them into our material world and kind of give birth to those religions on this world. Now, not necessarily as like a guru, although hey, if it works out, that's cool, but that's not really what I'm getting at here. What I'm getting at here is, when I get powerful channels like this and I've got images to go with it and interesting connections like I do, this ties into 2 or 3 of my earlier videos, and I haven't even talked about that yet. I can make 2 or 3 or 4 videos on one of these, religions of the astral plane, or spiritual practices, or civilizations and their beliefs and norms and standards, but it will be more focused on like religions of the astral plane. And I can kind of create like the first connection on the earth with these particular religions. And so if, let's say, I've got 100 videos, I can introduce 40, 50 new religions, all based on what they've told me through the channels and the images that I see on the astral plane about them. And then those would just be a record out there for people, as seeds for like spiritual understanding and knowledge, and perhaps the birth of new religions, although I don't think it would be me that would be birthing them, but who knows, I'm not opposed to that at all. But that's kind of not what the channel about. It was like kind of telling me that my role, and the reason why I've been drawn to this, is to like bring out those religions and those religious secrets of the astral realm, and even the spiritual secrets too, like even if it isn't connected to religion, and the cults and things like that, and like manifest them in the material world through these videos. And each one of these that I do is like a birth of something that really exists on the astral plane, a real religious practice in the astral plane, and now it's born like here on the earth. The germ or the seed of it is there. And I don't have time to get into the depth on all of them, but those that interest me the most, I will certainly do a lot of channeling on. I could easily write books like on particular subjects. Like, it's not difficult for me, honestly. I can write books, in a week, and fairly decent ones. So anyway, that's what the channel is telling me, and that second part really needs to be written down. Like, it all came through me. The first part came as words, the second part came as impressions and connections and things, but it all needs to be written down, and I know it's ready to be written down. So I learned a lot of interesting things. So we'll go on to the next slide here. Okay, I got my first actual religious artifact of the ancestors. Well, actual religious artifact from the astral planes. Like I was kind of told in these impressions that like the snakes and the dragons that I've been talking about, like in the last video, and the ancestors of the stars are connected also to this whole purpose for which I was setting up this channel that I was subconsciously unaware of. And like the reason why I was learning about these star beings was because that's one of the first religions I was supposed to like introduce like that religion to the earth through the channel. And they offered me like this idea in my mind during the channel of the first religious artifact they want me to show you about that particular religion. So that the religion would be the religion called Ancestors of the Stars, because I don't know what else to call it yet. So that's what it's going to be called to start with. But anyway, it was this idea that the snake and the dragon, both of which have been talked about in the last video a lot by me, and then there's another video I'm working on that you guys don't know about. It's almost done too, where I saw a snake temple, like in great detail. It was covered in like gems and things, and it's pretty cool looking. And so there's more connections than I've even talked about in the videos. Like probably the next video might be, well, probably the channel, but after that it'll be this snake temple. And this idea that this coin represents, and it's like a symbol of their religion, and it's an actual like ritual coin that they wanted me to create. But this was an AI. No, I didn't draw that one. I wish I had again. That's a nice image there. This was AI, and I'm going to probably draw one on my own too. I kind of found out about this late in the process, so I didn't have time to draw it. But what it represents is two things. There's a snake there on the bottom, and then there's a dragon head at the top. And it's the relationship between the snake and the dragon that is the secret. It's one of their religious beliefs, the ancestors of the stars. The belief is this, it's a representation, the snake and the dragon. The snake represents many things, but one of the things is it's supposed to represent, the snake is like myth, or actually the dragon is myth. The dragon represents myth, and the snake represents material reality on this coin. And it's like a circle or a cycle between myth and reality. The myth makes the reality, and the reality makes the myth, and the myth makes the reality, and the reality makes the myth. And what's really interesting is that's tied directly to this channel. Like for reasons you don't necessarily understand, I tried to do a channel in the past that it was a little weird, and at the time I was just doing it as a myth. And then that myth has come full circle into like a reality. Now I'm actually studying these things that I was only doing like in a purposeful, fictional, mythological sense before. Now I actually have the visions, and I'm actually seeing the real thing. And now what I thought was a myth turned out to be a reality on the astral plane, and that reality is now bouncing back into myth again, and then it's bouncing through me back into material reality, like as manifestations of these religions that I originally thought were just myths. But actually means four things, but we'll get to the other three here in just a second. So on to the next slide. Here's another version, AI version of this ritual coin with the dragon and the snake. I need to give it an official name, like the dragon snake myth cycle or something is probably what I'll call it. So it represents the cycle of the myth and the material. So that means the mythological and the material plane. It's this cycle of one creates the other, and it goes on and on and on. So if you make something up in your mind as a myth, this coin suggests that it gets a reality of a sort on the astral plane, and then that reality can bounce back down and turn what was a myth into a reality. So there isn't as much difference between what we call reality and myth as we might believe there to be. That's what the coin represents. Now, do I necessarily believe that? To a point. I don't know if I'd go, just because I'm teaching what they tell me about their religions doesn't mean I believe it, but I'm not totally opposed to that idea. I think it's got some serious insight in some ways. Number two, the transformation of the base into the higher. So the snake, sheds its skin to become a new a new brighter being. And it's like, right, this represents like omega point type evolution, literally. The idea that the universe is evolving into a greater and greater state until it eventually reaches an ultimate pinnacle of like heaven / God, and everything's perfect. So that's what that coin also represents. It's got two good meanings already. It also represents the potential for emerging astral plane religions. So these impressions I got after my channel, there's another one, and it was this idea. It was the impressions were telling me that I've already got like 3 different religions merging from my earlier videos that I didn't know were connected. And it also represents this idea that many of the, and even perhaps all of the religions on the astral plane can be merged into a single religion. That is going to be some interesting work. Like, yeah, like, this is, you know, there's could be some real longevity for this channel, regardless of how popular it is. Like, who knows what's going to happen in the future? But when something interests me, you know, I'm doing it as much for me as I am for everybody else. Like, I like doing this stuff, so it's going to be kind of hard to knock me out of here. If I decide that's what I want, and it is at the moment for sure. So we'll see. And what is, yeah, oh, and for the fourth thing is it actually represents this coin, or one of the 2 versions of it, or any dragon and snake coin, represents the religion, the actual religion of the ancestors of the stars, which is the group we were talking about in the last video. And whether that means the people who worship the ancestors of the stars or the actual ancestors of the stars isn't clear. Maybe that's something I should channel and ask. It's probably both. Probably represents both. But then again, we've got this interesting idea tied in there now of the myth turning into the material, and the material turning back into the myth. So who knows if the ancestors of the stars actually existed, or if the people that worship the ancestors of the stars right now created the myth, and then the myth is now coming back down into reality, and the myth has become real. You know, I don't know, though. I don't know the answers to that question. There very well may be in ancestors of the stars. So there we go. I hope the videos were interesting. Like, I'll probably keep doing that for sure. Thank you all for watching. Remember to watch the introductory video if you haven't. It tells you how to access these types of visions for yourself. Make sure you subscribe, tell your friends about it, like it if you like it. Any comments are always appreciated. Any questions too. All right, have a good night, people.